In this video, I'm going to be talking about why my yard is such a mess. And the reason I'm doing this video is because if you're in a similar situation to me, I want to give you hope. And if you have someone in your life like me who has an incredibly messy yard or house or whatever, that maybe this will help you understand a bit of where they're coming from, and maybe will help you to be a little bit less judgmental. G'day, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you don't know me or know the stuff that I do, my name's Stuart Chignell, and I've got a bunch of YouTube channels, and I do a whole bunch of different stuff. Very eclectic mix of different projects, which is of course one of the reasons why my yard often looks a bit of a mess. Because unless you are familiar with what is involved in beekeeping, prospecting, woodwork, sawmilling, recycling, and repurposing, then you just look at my yard and see a whole range of clutter. A lot of the projects that I do, I like to do with repurposed, reused, recycled materials. And if the project just has to be functional and I don't care about the aesthetics, it looks like it's been built from recycled materials, and that's always going to look untidy. But on top of that, there's also always going to be a stockpile of materials for stuff that I have particular uses for. Like that pile of stuff is going to be for a particular project, but there's also going to be a stockpile of useful bibs and bobs and items that I think will be useful for something at some point. And this is something I'm getting better at, another pile of stuff which is just rubbish. Stuff that I've stripped off from things, bits and pieces of a machine that I've discarded because I've taken the bits of it I already need from it. Those things I'm getting better at just getting rid of as soon as I produce them, but there's always going to be a bit of that stuff around. And there are a couple of other reasons, like I don't have a dedicated workshop, but the biggest reason is my mental health. Now, I have always been on the autism spectrum. I just didn't know it until relatively recently. And I had learnt to cope with the various aspects of my brain and how it worked pretty well. But as I've had to deal with the trauma of my son's health condition, one of the problems with that is that it has magnified aspects of my autism to the point that they are quite debilitating, as well as the debilitation from, well, the trauma, the post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, my son is now 11. He had his first hospital admission when he was 6 weeks old, had his second admission when he was 12 weeks old, and shortly after that, we ended up being in hospital with him once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, even once 6 times a week. And sometimes we were just backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Other times we lived at the hospital. That's where you'd find us all the time. And that went on for years. Then as we were better able to manage his life-threatening seizures at home, we didn't end up going to hospital as much, but we were dealing with life-threatening seizures at home. You know, stop breathing, turn blue kind of stuff on sometimes a weekly basis. And that takes a toll. Now, the last year, he's only been in hospital 9 times, which is so much easier. But in addition to that, he hasn't been having the life-threatening stuff at home. And so I'm starting to get a bit more of a grip on things, but I am pretty broken. I have a very limited ability to get things done during the day. I've only got really the mornings when I function properly. I have a lot of problems with social anxiety, noise sensitivity, all very typical autism traits, but they were never a big deal. Now they are. And one of the big things I struggle with is executive function and just getting on with stuff. So I can look at a pile of stuff, know it's almost all rubbish, but not be able to pick out the things that I want to keep and just get rid of the rest. Or even in some cases, the entire pile I know is rubbish, but I haven't got the wherewithal to get it onto the trailer to get it down the tip. And if you can't relate to that, don't try. Be thankful that you can't relate to that. Be thankful that you have no understanding what it is like to look at a pile of rubbish and not be able to work out how to pick up a piece and get it on the trailer. Just one piece. Be thankful that you don't understand what that's like. But this is the biggest reason why I'm producing this video, is if you've got a friend or a neighbour or a family member and you're looking at the way they're living and you can't understand why they do what they do, why they live, why they work, why don't they just pick it up? Why don't they just put it in the bin? Why don't they just fold the washing? Why don't... Why? Then I'm hoping this video will help you to understand that a lot of people, they don't want to live like that. They don't want to be like that. And that maybe that, you know, instead of judging them, instead of calling the council and, you know, reporting the state of the yard, maybe you could reach out to them. Maybe you could ask them if they need a bit of a hand. Maybe you could, you know, help them out. Be a bit more neighbourly. But then at the same time also understand that it's going to be hard for them to accept help. It's going to be hard for them to open up to you. It's going to be hard for them to deal with that. So you're going to have to build trust. You're going to have to be patient. And that might be tricky for you, especially if you've got no understanding of just how debilitating a mental illness can be, even when it comes to just the basic things of life. So, if you can relate to this video, well, you have my sympathies. Stay strong. Get help if you can, because sometimes it can be very hard to get help. Sometimes it's easier to not get help. I understand that. But if you don't relate to this video, just try and be a bit more patient with people. Try a bit more caring, a bit more understanding. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.